Tonight's potion was for sleep, not deep slumber, not forgetful rest, but that soft in-between place where one hears lullabies from other worlds and dreams feel stitched with silk. She placed the lavender into the mortar. The pestle was carved from stone, smooth from centuries. She gripped it gently and began to grind. The sound was slow and rhythmic, like footsteps in snow, like distant rain. She reached next for valerian root, earthy, strong, a grounding scent, a pinch of mugwort, a silvery herb, used since Roman times for dreams of prophecy. Alchemists weren't just seekers of gold, but weavers of transformations, seeking not just material wealth, but spiritual enlightenment. Each object held a story, a testament to her enduring spirit, an unwavering dedication to her craft. Despite the solitude, she'd never felt truly alone. The fire crackled softly, casting dancing shadows on the weathered stone walls. Outside, the lavender fields swayed gently in the evening breeze, their scent mingling with the aroma of Illyria's brews, creating an atmosphere of tranquility. Within the tower, time seemed to stand still, allowing Illyria to lose herself in the rhythm of her craft, surrounded by the whispers of ancient wisdom and the comforting embrace of the eternal present. For her, the world was brimming with kindred spirits, elemental beings that resonated with her alchemical soul. There were sylphs in the dance of flames, gnomes in the depths of earth, nymphs in the murmur of streams, and dragons in the soar of hawks. Illyria had dedicated her life to this ancient practice, poring over ancient texts, experimenting with herbs and minerals, always in pursuit of greater understanding. Many had scorned her work, labeling her a witch or a heretic. Yet she'd persevered, guided by the whispers of wind through ruins and the murmur of earth after rain. Then just a touch of chamomile, golden as afternoon tea, to soften the edges of the blend. She stirred the mixture in a carved ashwood bowl, the grains of the herbs catching light like tiny stars. From a shelf high above, she took down a bottle, blue glass, hand-blown, and uncorked it with a soft pop. Inside was rosewater, distilled from petals plucked before sunrise. She poured the rosewater over the powdered herbs, and the scent lifted into the air like a sigh. Now, my dears, we are nearing the end of our journey through this bedtime story. But before we drift into the next part of the story, allow me to offer a word of gratitude. Your presence here means the world to me. If you've ever found comfort in these soothing narratives, or if you simply enjoy the calming atmosphere I create, I invite you to show your support. It would mean a lot to me and help me continue sharing these relaxing experiences with others. Thank you for being here. With the potion complete, Illyria turned her thoughts to the next step, infusing the essence of the brew into a simple linen sachet. As she worked, her gaze fell upon a weathered volume resting on the table, its pages filled with cryptic symbols and handwritten notes. It was one of her oldest books, its leather cover as worn as her hands, yet its contents as vibrant as the herbs she'd gathered that day. In the days of old, alchemy was more than a study. It was a way of life. Her sanctuary was filled with relics of her journey, fragments of pottery from a time when philosophers walked the earth, vials containing elixirs, a forgotten lore, and instruments crafted with meticulous care. As the lavender hour deepened, she felt their presence all around her, a silent chorus celebrating the mysteries of existence. From within the tower, the glow of twilight fades, leaving only the murmur of Illyria's voice and the gentle rustle of the lavender fields. And so, dear listener, let your own dreams drift gently now, carried on lavender mist, soft as smoke, and steady as the breath you are taking now. Feel yourself sinking into a sea of tranquility, no longer tossed by the waves of wakefulness, but cradled by the soothing depths of slumber. Release them all. Surrender them to this moment of blissful oblivion. You are safe here, wrapped in the warmth of a comforting darkness, enveloped in the soothing embrace of the night. Here, within the sanctuary of sleep, you are free to let go, to truly be yourself, to drift on a river of endless calm. Your eyelids grow heavy, a comforting weight, urging you to surrender to the embrace of night. At the end of our time together here, if you would, Please take a moment to leave a wisp of your own story, a comment, a memory, a dream you've had, a place you've seen, a scent that takes you back. I read many of these wisps myself, and they weave a beautiful tapestry of shared human experience. Thank you for listening, and until next time, may your own stories be filled with the softest light and the gentlest peace. The worries of the day, those pesky daytime visitors, are now locked out, unable to disturb the peace of your dreams, for you are in the care of the Lavender Hour, a realm where troubles cease to exist. Here the only language spoken is that of tranquility, and the currency exchanged is pure, unadulterated relaxation. Let go of the tension you may have held, those knots in your shoulders, the clenching of your jaw, even the subtle frown lines etching themselves onto your brow. Your thoughts, those pesky little daytime visitors, are now floating lanterns, gently drifting downstream. Watch them go. Don't bother chasing after them. They will return in the morning, bringing with them the sunlight and the buzz of a new day. But for now, let them drift. You are alone now, or perhaps you are not. If you wish, you can take comfort in knowing that you are not truly alone. For within the tapestry of the night, there are those who share this moment with you, a kindred spirit somewhere out there, also surrendering to the call of slumber, also breathing in the sweet fragrance of dreams, also letting go of the day's concerns to be cradled by the Lavender Hour. So close your eyes now, dear listener, and open yourself up to the night. Embrace the darkness, let it envelop you, and within its depths, discover the tranquility that has always been yours to find. Drift now on the wings of the Lavender Hour, and may your dreams be filled with the softest light and the gentlest peace. For those who journey through the labyrinthine passages of my stories seeking solace or a gentle distraction from life's clamor, I have a request. Close your eyes now. Let them rest like petals folding in twilight. There's nothing more you need to do, no place you need to be. Only here, in the hush of the tower, where herbs whisper and dreams rise like warm steam from a quiet cup. Here, the ingredients were different, rarer, rooted in memory. She laid them out gently, crushed poppy seeds, symbol of surrender. Just beyond her door, the path turned to lavender and loam, the gentle flutter of wings. At first, Illyria thought it was the owl who often roosted above her window, but no, the sound was closer. She turned toward the rafters, and there, just above the fire nook, was a moth. Its wings were wide and velvet brown, marked with two round circles like eyes. It flitted once, then again, and landed softly on the rim of a scroll shelf. Illyria smiled. In medieval lore, moths were said to carry messages from those beyond, not always with words, but with feelings, with intuition. She extended a finger. The moth didn't move. You've come for someone, she murmured. Let's find out who. She returned to her notes, pulled out the drawer, labeled Visitation Dreams. Inside were slips of parchment, where she'd written names, dates, and symbols, recording when moths, owls, or foxes had brought news. It had been a long time since one came without a name already known. But she felt it tonight. Something was stirring, a soul, not sleeping, not waking, caught in between. She climbed the spiral steps of her tower to the observatory, a small, round room at the very top, with windows on all sides and a domed ceiling painted with constellations. Her mentor had once mapped the stars by hand here. Illyria had repainted them, year after year. She lit a lantern, hung it on the brass hook above the northern window, and unrolled a star map across the curved desk. She knelt, pressing her fingers to the earth. It was still warm from the sun, but cooling fast. In some texts, called the Sisters, guardians of dreams, she traced their shape with one finger. 7 stars, like pearls on silk. The moth seeks a sister, she whispered. And with that, she descended. Not hastily, just with certainty. She returned to her shelf of sleep lens, and chose one she had not touched in years. It was labeled Recuerdo, memory, a blend of rosemary for remembrance, juniper for spirit travel, and hyssop to purify. To it, she added a touch of recent valerian, to anchor the dreamer, should they wander too far. She packed the herbs in a lidded pouch of white linen, then took a charcoal stick and marked it with a symbol, a circle within a triangle, the alchemical glyph for vision. She wrapped it gently in soft beeswaxed paper and placed it by her own bedside. Tonight, Illyria would sleep, but not only to rest. She would travel. She would enter the dream paths, seeking the soul the moth had come to guide. She extinguished all but one candle, placed a warm stone at the foot of her bed, and lay beneath a quilt sewn with starlit runes. As her eyes closed, her breathing slowed. The herbs worked gently in the linen sachet beside her, and she drifted, not down, but across, as if sleep were a field of silvery grass, and she was gliding above it, weightless, still, safe. She buried the offering, pressing the soil over it with both hands, then smoothed the mound with her palm. Overhead, the moon blinked through a thinning veil of mist, a silver eye, watching, not judging, just witnessing. "Thank you," she whispered, and stewed ashes from last month's candle, a sliver of driftwood, shaped like a sleeping swan, a petal from a night blooming cereus, gathered under starlight, and one final thing, a strand of her own silver hair. Each item held meaning. Each was a thank you. She ground the ingredients into a paste, then rolled it into a tiny ball and wrapped it in cloth dyed with elderberry. She would bury it beneath the lavender bush that grew beside her door. But not yet. First, it must sit in the window and drink the moonlight. She placed it on a ceramic dish and whispered a blessing in a language no longer spoken. The words felt like leaves blowing across an old path, soft and sure. Let your breath find its rhythm, like waves lapping the shore of an unseen lake, and return to where the alchemist tends her work with lavender-scented fingers and the patience of stars. The dawn was still far away, and yet the tower never truly slept. Even in stillness, it listened to the creak of its wooden beams, to the breath of the wind brushing ivy against stone, to the stories whispered by sleeping fields. Illyria, too, remained wakeful, not with worry, not with haste, but with presence. There was always something to tend, something to steep, something to remember. On this night, her thoughts wandered to her mentor, the woman who had taught her not only how to brew and bind, but how to trust silence. They had worked together in a glade, far from any village, a place where pine and heather grew thickly, and the air always smelled of sap and smoke. She wore robes made from nettlecloth, and kept ravens as her messengers. But what Illyria remembered most was the sound of her voice, soft, like a brook under snow. Anselma had once said, "To make a potion for sleep, you must first know how it feels to surrender." Illyria had nodded then, too young to fully understand. But now, every time she crushed lavender or listened to the breath of valerian root, she felt it. That surrender, that release, that deep, golden letting go. She moved to her smallest table, a round one made of driftwood, brought up from the coast decades ago. Outside, the mist thickened. Clouds glided low, veiling the stars like gauze. Illyria took a step outside, back inside the tower. A new sound stirred. Tonight's alignment was strange, gentle. Yes, but tilted. Venus low, the moon quiet, and the Pleiades just beginning to rise. The Pleiades. Welcome back to my channel or to this video. I hope you found this video through the algorithm or perhaps someone shared it with you. I am thrilled you're here. This is part 4 of 7 in a hypnotic bedtime story series. Until they became mist, until mist became stars, and stars became memory. See you next time for part 5. Until then, take care. Illyria was dreaming, but not in the way most people do. Alchemists, trained in herbcraft and symbols, in moon cycles and breath, could sometimes walk within the dreams of others. They called it threading the veil. And only those who entered with still hearts and pure intention could find the true in her sleep. Illyria moved barefoot through a silver forest, The trees shimmered as though spun from glass and breath. Each step echoed like harp strings played in deep water. Above her, the sky was filled not with stars, but with blooming flowers. Lavender, bluebell, elder, and rose, glowing softly in slow-motion bloom. She reached a stone archway, covered in wisteria. The scent was familiar. Not sweet exactly, but old, like parchment, like wax, like memory. Beyond the arch was a child, a girl of about 7, kneeling in a garden of ash and silver thorns. Her dress was stitched with birds, but each bird was asleep. Her hands cupped something Illyria could not see. The child looked up. "You came," she whispered. "Not surprised, not afraid, just sure." Illyria knelt beside her. "What is troubling you, little one?" The girl opened her hands. Inside was a small bird, its wings folded tight, its chest unmoving. "She sang to me," the girl said, "every night, but now she's quiet." Illyria looked closer. The bird was made of threads, some gold, some gray. She reached out, gently. With her thumb, she touched the bird's breast, and it shimmered. A tiny flicker of breath stirred beneath her fingertip. "She isn't gone," Illyria said softly. "She's resting, because you've forgotten to rest." The girl frowned. "I don't like dreams," she said. "They turn into shadows." Illyria nodded. "They can, but only if we forget to let light in." She reached into the folds of her robe and drew out a small satchel, the very one she'd prepared before sleep. She opened it and let the herbs float out. They did not fall, but drifted slowly. Up were lavender, rosemary, valerian, twirling in the dream air like fireflies. Each herb glowed with a soft aura, and as the girl reached for them, her fingers left trails of light behind. The garden began to shift. Ash turned to soil. Silver thorns softened into stems, and the bird in her hand unfurled one wing, then the other. A tiny chirp escaped its beak. Not loud, but enough. The girl smiled, tears glimmering like pearls on her cheeks. "Will she sing again?" Illyria smiled. "Every night, if you let her." She handed the child a small orb of woven petals, a dream charm, bound with calming symbols. "Place this beside your pillow, and listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart." The girl nodded. Then, as dreams do, she faded. Not disappeared, just softened into light, into safety. The dream shifted again. Illyria was standing now in a great round hall. Its ceiling was made of mirror, its floor of velvet moss. Candles floated in the air, each one carrying a memory of a dreamer she had helped. She could name them all. A boy who feared the wind, an old soldier who could not stop marching, a weaver who dreamed of her lost twin. Each light flickered gently, as if acknowledging her presence. At the center of the room stood a basin, a shallow bowl of silver, filled with moon water. This was her scrying place, where she could look deeper, not only into dreams, but into the space between them. She stepped forward and peered in. At first, only a reflection, then ripples, then a face. Her mentor Anselma, older than she remembered, but with the same sharp eyes, the same velvet voice. "You walk the dream roads well," Anselma said, "but you are still afraid of your own." Illyria bowed her head. She knew it was true. She had spent her life helping others sleep, but had left her own rest neglected. "I do not fear dreams," she whispered, "only what they might ask me to remember." And Selma reached out, not across the basin, but into Illyria's thoughts. "You must remember," she said, "to return to the place you buried your name." And with that, the vision faded. The dream hall melted, the forest vanished, and Illyria woke. The candle beside her bed had burned low. Its wax had formed a soft spiral, like a snail shell, like a galaxy. Outside, the first faint blue light of morning had begun to touch the sky, but the tower was still wrapped in night's hush. She sat up slowly. Her body felt both light and full, as if she'd carried something heavy, but now released it into the earth. She rose and padded quietly to her table. There. She opened a small drawer, one she had not touched in many years. Inside was a faded scrap of linen, wrapped around a lock of her own hair, cut when she was still an apprentice, long before the tower, before the village, before the lavender fields ever bloomed. She unfolded the cloth, and inside, tucked gently within, was a single name, Alira, her name. Before she changed it, before she became Alira, she held the name to her chest, and for the first time in years, a tear rolled down her cheek. Not of grief, not of loss, but of return. She moved to her shelves, took out her master journal, the one bound in indigoed leather, stitched with golden thread. She opened to a fresh page, dipped her quill, and wrote. I remember her now. Alira, the child who listened to bees, who braided lavender into her braids, who dreamed of towers, and built one from silence and bloom. She closed the book, let the ink dry, and stood before the eastern window. The first light of sun had begun to pierce the horizon, not golden yet, just that soft, pearlescent gray that comes only in the breath between night and dawn. The lavender fields below the tower were still asleep, but not for long. And you, gentle listener, let this soft light find you too. Let it rest upon your eyelids. Let it remind you that there are parts of yourself you have not lost, only tucked away. And like a leaf, you can always return to get the most out of this hypnosis experience. I recommend making this your sole focus. So put your phone on silent, dim the lights, and allow yourself to drift off into this beautiful story. Take a breath with me now. In, slowly, and out. Even slower. Let the day fall away completely, like smoke curling upward into the rafters, like leaves gently releasing their hold from the branches above. You are floating now, peacefully, held by lavender air and quiet knowing. Let your thoughts melt, like snow resting on a warm stone. You are safe and deeply welcome in the world of the Alchemist dreams. The lavender fields below the tower faded. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this hypnotizing story. Please subscribe to support more content like this. Welcome to my shop. I'm so glad you found me, and I have to tell you about the best smelling candle I've ever tried, which is funny because I've never actually smelled this one. Well, maybe I have. I don't really remember. This one is plum and black, so good. I know we all burn lavender, right? But this one's a little different. It smells like magic. It does. Plum and blackthorn. Okay. And hey, if you ever need to say hello, you know how to find me. Just look for the purple smoke coming from the chimney. Thanks for being here today. I'll see you next time. Now, when I light it, can you light it? Yep, beautiful. The flicker. That's our magic. There it is. Look, it's purple. Yes. All right. And there's these little black dots in it. Those are seeds. Yeah, they're supposed to be there. That's why it's called blackthorn. Do you want to smell it up close? Close. Good. See, this is plum and blackthorn. Can you tell? Yep. Okay. So I didn't make this one. This one was sent to me. Sent to me by a friend. She knows how much I love anything plum. Anything plum. And I've been looking for a plum candle for ages. I have a feeling I'm gonna love this one. I already do. Just the fact that it has seeds in it. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. See, I like things that are real in the candle. I want to believe that. I don't want to believe that it's just wax and cotton and glass. I want to believe that there's something else in here. Like dried plum and blackthorn seeds. It makes me feel better. Does that make sense? It does to me. This is a special one. This is plum and black. I have a feeling I'm going to burn it when I want to feel brave. When I want to feel creative. Creative, yes. Brave. When I need help saying goodbye. Goodbye. When I'm trying to find my way home. Home. Exactly. And when I want to remember everything I have ever loved. Everything I have ever loved. Yes. Thank you. Now, can I show you my plum and blackthorn soap? Can I? Oh, yes, please. This one smells incredible. I think I may have even put this one on before. Doesn't it smell amazing? Amazing. I bet you'd love it. I do. I just love it. Hey, thanks for stopping by today. I hope you got something wonderful, and I hope you got a chance to relax a little bit. This episode was written by me, and now we return to our regularly scheduled programming. Once upon a midnight brightly shining, when the moon was sure of its roundness, and the fireflies hummed their tidy tunes, Cinderella crouched at the far edge of the mushroom ring. Her bare arms were smudged with soot from coaxing the flames back to life, and her skirts were stained with clay from stomping the new hearth into shape. All around her, the mushrooms glowed faintly, casting dancing shadows on the birch bark roof above her head. Now, there was nothing left but the long trudge back to a lonely heart. Though every instinct screamed at her to run, to hide, to flee, she walked slowly toward the trees, back toward the twisted path that led to the road, back toward the pumpkin patch and the Wayne town. By signing up, you can unlock a host of perks, including additional content and early access to every story. You can also chat directly with me and the rest of the team. Or if you prefer to listen offline, don't worry, you can download any episode from our platform and listen whenever, wherever you want. We'll always have something new waiting for you. So come along and let's see where our dreams take us next. If she was to be mocked, at least let it be for staying so long in the Emperor's ball, not for fleeing in the middle of the night. With each step, the trees closed in, their gnarled limbs clawing at the sky, their leaves rustling warnings she couldn't understand. Their roots clutched at her skirts, tugging her back into the suffocating embrace of the woods. Thorns ripped at her arms and her cheeks, leaving angry scratches in their wake. But she did not flinch. She would have gladly traded skin for steel, flesh for bone, human for creature of the wood, if it meant she could outrun the memories that haunted her. There had to be some place, some hollow log or mossy stone, some hidden grotto, deep within the earth, where the forest's magic wouldn't touch her, where the whispers wouldn't follow her, where she could curl up and be utterly, blessedly alone. But even as she stoked the fire, she could not banish the chill creeping into her bones. In its center sat an ancient oak, draped with moss and studded with 1,000 twinkling lights. She gasped, pressing her back against the rough bark of another tree. A deep rumble echoed from the oak, like the purr of a slumbering beast. Its leaves rustled despite the stillness of the air, and its branches stretched toward her, beckoning, comforting, excluding. A faint glow spilled from beneath the oak's roots, inviting her closer, fear-worn with exhaustion. Should she flee? Should she keep running? What if the forest was leading her to a trap? But the oak seemed ancient, its wisdom deeper than the tricks of any sprite or goblin. Perhaps here, in the presence of such age, she might finally find the solace she so desperately craved. Taking a shaky breath, Cinderella moved from the shadows and stepped into the light. The clearing widened, revealing a carpet of grass beneath the oak's protective branches. Exhaustion pulled at her eyelids, urging her to rest. And as she sank onto the soft grass, she felt the tension draining from her shoulders. The forest held her gaze. She could stay here. She should stay here. As the first rays of dawn touched the eastern sky, she closed her eyes, surrendering to the pull of sleep. Perhaps here she could be free of the endless chase, free of the prince, the ball, the mocking whispers, free at last. Each gust of wind that snaked through the toadstools rattled her with laughter. Each scuttling mouse seemed to mock her with whispers, and the very silence of the forest throbbed with mockery. She had thought coming here would be different, safer, easier. How foolish of her to think that. Here, in the heart of the woods, in the very lair of the things that went bump in the night, she was truly alone, and whatever solace she sought in the whispering trees and gossiping vines was lost to the crushing weight of solitude. Tears welled up, blurring the dancing lights. This was a fate worse than her stepmother's wrath, worse than the drudgery of scrubbing floors, worse even than the relentless taunts of the steps. Oh, to be back. Just to be back. Even if she had to scrub floors forever. What use were magic wishes in enchanted forests if they left her so utterly, terrifyingly alone? A twig snapped nearby and she jumped, whirling around to face the intruder. It was just a squirrel, scampering up a tree with a scolding chirp. Relieved, she sank back onto her heels, burying her face in her knees. That's it, she thought miserably. Even the animals reject her. With a sniffle, she pushed away the curtain of hair hiding her face, wiping her tears on her sleeve. She looked up, fixing her gaze on the flickering flames. Why had she come here? What had she hoped to find in this desolate place? And why couldn't she simply stay here, instead of chasing after Prince Charming? Was he really worth throwing away everything she had ever known for? Hadn't the fairy godmother warned her of this? That her path would change and there would be no turning back. But that was nonsense. All paths led back to home and hearth, to the familiar ache of longing and the comfort of routine. There was no use pretending otherwise. As the last ember faded to glowing coal, Cinderella rose and brushed the dirt from her skirts. Her journey was over. It was time to go home. Whatever magic this would held was spent. Whatever wish the fairy godmother could grant her had been used. As the first sliver of moon peeked through the canopy above her, Cinderella stumbled into a small clearing. If you would like to join us in exploring more dreams and stories, please consider supporting us through our platform. So gently. Now, we arrive at the final hush, the deepest exhale before morning light returns. Here is part 7 of your full-length hypnotic ASMR bedtime story. Not because it was empty, but because it was whole. And then a change. In the hearth, a cold blinked to life, and the lavender outside swayed, ready to begin again. Children pointed at her long silver braid. A dog followed her for 2 streets. A baker gave her a warm roll, saying simply, "For sleep well given." She returned to the tower as the sun reached its peak. But this time, she left the door slightly open and pinned a note to the post. "You are safe. You are known. You are home." In gentle script, it read, "If you are weary, come sit in the lavender for a while." No words needed, just breath and bloom. Elira rose with the light. She didn't rush. She didn't plan. She simply dressed in a robe the color of dove feather, tied with a braid of flax and thyme. Her hands moved with deep calm as she poured water into her copper kettle, as she lit the fire beneath it, as she breathed in the day. She brewed a simple tea, lavender, oat straw, chamomile, and as she drank, she smiled, not at any one thing, but at the completeness of this moment. Not hot, not bright, but glowing gently like memory returning. And beside it, on the corner shelf, a jar began to shimmer. It was one of Elira's oldest vessels, blown from forest glass, green and imperfect, its surface gently wavy like water under moon, not made from wax, but from pressed lavender stems and rose oil. Its scent filled the tower not quickly, but like a memory slowly remembered. She opened her dream book one final time, wrote the words, "This chapter ends, not with sleep, but with rest found." Then she closed the book, tied it with ribbon, and placed it in the hearth, where embers still glowed softly, not to burn, but to warm. A final offering. Inside it, dried petals of blue lotus, mint leaves turned silvery with age, and a twist of golden thread. The moon, new and quiet, hung low behind the hills, and from the lavender fields came a sound. Not wind, not bird, but laughter. A child's laughter, light as silk, fleeting as breath. Elira turned to the window and smiled. The field was empty, but she had heard it, and that was enough. She had called it the jar of unasked wishes. Elira climbed the stairs of the tower one final time. She lay beneath her quilt, the one stitched with stars, and closed her eyes. This time, she did not think of potions, or dreams, or names once buried. She simply let go. And as she drifted, the lavender hour deepened, and so did her rest. Each time someone came to her door, but didn't speak, what was in that heart. She would take the essence of that unspoken longing and place it in the jar. Over the years, it had filled slowly, quietly, with hopes too soft to be voiced. And tonight, perhaps because the air was so still, perhaps because her name had been remembered, the jar gave off a sound, a tiny chime, like frost cracking under gentle feet. Alira stirred, not fully wakened, but listening. Even in dreams, she was present. And in her sleep, she whispered, "Let them bloom now. Let the unasked become answered." The jar shimmered once more, then still, and across the fields, in cottages tucked against hillsides, in beds woven with wool and down, dreamers stirred, but not in fear, in warmth, because something soft and old was releasing, like rain falling on parched earth, like song returning to the mouth. In one cottage, a young woman dreamed of her mother's voice, a lullaby she had heard since childhood. In another, a boy dreamed of a long-lost lamb returning to him in the fog, its fleece warm against his chest. And in the tower, Alira slept on peacefully, whole. Alira's sleep was deep and dreamless, the kind of rest that comes only after the soul has remembered what it had forgotten. Even the wind outside was still. The lavender stood tall and silent, drinking moonlight through their stems. Inside the tower, the candles had long burned out. Their wax had cooled in elegant spirals, marking the passage of hours with grace. All was peace, the alchemist's lavender hour. Now, close your eyes. Let the last threads of the day fall from your fingers like ribbons released into the wind. There is nothing left to do now. No more turning of pages, no more counting of hours. Just this. Just a quiet, just a lavender hour, where every breath is a lullaby. That night, the tower was quieter than it had ever been. In the early hours of morning, just before the first bird stirred, the tower gave a single soft creak, as though sighing in its sleep. When morning came, the first light touched everything with quiet affection. The tower walls were kissed in soft gold. The books cast long shadows across their shelves. That day, she walked through the village, not to deliver potions, not to listen, just to be seen. And as she passed, people waved. That evening, she lit a new candle. Outside, the sky deepened into dusk. Later, as night once again wrapped the world in velvet, now let your breathing follow hers, deep and slow. In time, with the petals unfurling beneath your mind, there is nothing left to seek, nothing left to hold.